Hi everyone! You might be curious about watercolor markers, or you might have some watercolor markers and wonder why they don't perform the way you expected them to. So I just want to give you a basic overview of how to use this tool in case you want to add it to your sketching kit. There are a lot of brands out on the market, but I like Tombow dual brush pens, and I'm going to show you a picture of the packaging that they come in. Tombow makes over 100 colors in these dual brush pens, and they're wonderful. I've had mine for a few years and haven't had to throw any away, or I haven't had any kind of stop working on me, so that's great. They come in 10 packs, 6 packs, and you can also buy them individually so that you can try them out and see what you think. You can see they're about $30 for a 10 pack. Let's take a look at how they work. So Tombow calls them dual brush pens because they have essentially two brushes. At one end, they have what's called the bullet tip, and that has a hard end that's not really smushy or flexible. And at the other end, they have the brush tip, which is smushier and can put down a lot more pigment. That makes a much fatter line. So one thing a lot of my students tell me when they first buy these is that they buy the markers and there are unfortunately no directions in the package. And so you bring them home and you're not even totally sure how to use them. Are you supposed to like dip the markers in water? You can do that, but they peter out a little bit, so I don't suggest it. What you're supposed to do is put your marker down on paper and then activate it with a wet brush, and that makes that marker color turn into like paint pigment that you can move around. So you might want markers like this if you are a line and wash sketcher, and when you add color to your sketches with watercolor paint, you find that the colors are kind of anemic and meh. These watercolor markers deliver vibrant color. And so if you're not mixing up rich puddles of color with your paint and it's frustrating to you, you might want markers for that reason. And then another reason is that you saw with those two different tips, you can deliver that pigment right where you want it in your sketch. And then you can activate it with your brush and pull it around. I'll show you what I mean. So the most important thing to know about these markers, though, is that they don't like all types of paper. So this is printer copier paper, and look at this. If I were to bring these markers home and use them in my sketchbook, I'd be pretty disappointed, and I might think there's something wrong with me and I'm not doing it right. It's not me, and it's not the markers. It's the paper. I guess it is a little bit of the markers because they don't like this type of paper. They don't like printer copier paper. What they want is mixed media paper. Even watercolor paper works. You don't want a paper that's super textured though, because you'll start to degrade the tips of your markers. So I've got some mixed media paper here, and this is how they should work. I can put some color down. And I don't have to color in the whole object because I'm going to turn this into paint and then I'll be able to move it around. I can layer colors. And sometimes when I'm layering colors, I'll be putting color down but also picking it up, and then I can just clean the tip of my marker on copier paper. And you can even, depending on your paper and also different marker colors, some are more staining than others, just like watercolor paints. But you can even take these out and sketch with them and leave all your painting stuff at home and then come home and activate them, sometimes even days later. Just like with watercolor paints, though, sometimes you'll have colors like your pinks and some of your blues that are a little stubborn. They're like staining pigments, and so they won't activate later. So you really have to get to know your markers and the paper that you're using them on. If I can get the marker lines to disappear and smooth out on this mixed media paper, but if I couldn't, I would press a little harder with my brush on the paper to kind of scrub some of those markers out. And you can see up here, there's a little bit of bleeding here under that leaf. It's bleeding into that orange. And that's because just like with watercolor paints, these colors will bloom and bleed because they've essentially turned into watercolor paint. So if I use too much water, I'm going to create some blooms and some bleeds. It's not the end of the world, but it's just something to keep in mind. Another thing that I can do is I can actually make swatches of color on my paper. Maybe I want to like blend some colors. And then I can activate that. And what I've done is I've given myself a little puddle of paint to work with just by making a swatch. There are a lot of other things that you can do with these markers. You can make neat abstracted backgrounds. You can letter with them. Tombow also makes clear colorless blenders that you can use to kind of blend colors together. But that gives you a basic overview of how they should work if you want to bring them into your line and wash sketching kit, and you just want to add some great punches of color to your sketches in a convenient way. I hope that helps you out if you decide that you want to give them a try. I think it's definitely worth at least maybe buying one. They're just a few dollars in maybe a neat color that you don't have in your paint kit, and trying it out with your sketches and seeing what you think about them. Remember, the most important thing is to have the right paper. So if you try them out and they're not working, it's not you. It's probably your paper. Just try some different paper. Start with mixed media. That's probably where you're going to have the most success. All right, take care. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If it was not helpful, maybe keep it to yourself or put it in the comments and let me know. Thank you. Take care. Bye.